Welcome to the Emerging Leaders webinar previewing this year's G2E. The webinar is being brought to you by the Innovation Group and American Gaming Association. This session is part of a webinar series that will continue throughout the remainder of the year. Before we get started, I'll go over a few basics for the webinar platform. The main body of the screen you see is the PowerPoint presentation that we've shared with you. To the right of this, there are a series of drop-down menus available using the icons located in the top right of your screen. The first icon is Participants. If you click on the icon, the list should drop down displaying the live video screens from each of our panelists. And unfortunately, due to the technical difficulties, Dana Takrudtong will unfortunately not have video. If you do not see the participants or are having any other technical issues, please refer to your instruction link that was included in your webinar confirmation email or call the WebEx support line provided in the email. The second icon you see is the chat function, which will be disabled for this session. For questions, we ask that you use the Q&A icon located next to the chat and submit your questions directly to the host. We will be monitoring the Q&A throughout the webinar and we'll be dedicating time at the end for our audience Q&A. Please include the panelist's name if you have a question directed for a specific individual. Otherwise, we'll assume it's a general question for the entire panel. As I mentioned, the topic today is on how to conquer the upcoming G2E conference. My name is Mike Vanaski, and I'll be the moderator for the webinar. I'm Director of Operations Planning for the Innovation Group, and I've been with the firm for about 18 months. We have a set of questions to ask our panelists that will give attendees actionable advice and strategic recommendations on how to make the most of your time at G2E. With that, we'll introduce our panelists and have them tell us a little bit about themselves. And just so we know the type of G2E experts we're dealing with today, we'll have them tell us the number of G2Es they've been to over the years. So first, we have Corey Nyman. Corey is Director of Operations at the Nyman Group.
Excellent. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. The Nyman Group is a hospitality consulting firm based in Las Vegas, Nevada, as well as Scottsdale, Arizona. I do office and base in Las Vegas, so I have a lot of pride in G2E, especially considering it's the largest game show and coming to my adopted hometown and where we office. I've been to at least, I believe, almost 7 G2Es, and it's really great to see how it keeps evolving as an experience in Las Vegas overall to the world.
All right, great. Thanks, Corey, and thanks for joining us today. Our second panelist is Dana Takrudtong. Dana is Vice President of Sales and Marketing at GAN.
Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in this panel. It's exciting for us to see how many people are interested in learning more about the show. I've been at G2E for 5 years now. My first G2E was actually my first trip to Vegas, so that was definitely jumping into the deep end of the pool for me to land on the ground, see that show, see Vegas the first time, feel the energy of the event. So always grateful to be back and definitely mark this as one of my favorite events of the year. My first show was, again, as mentioned, with WMS, representing their slot product. I was with Williams Interactive as the National Account Manager. In my last 3 shows, I have been with Game Account Network. So a bit more special for me even now at this point in my career as I own the end-to-end design, production, setup of the booth, and making sure all of our customers within it through the show have a great event. For quick coverage on what we do, we're a B2B platform supplier for the iGaming space. So a little bit more non-traditional for the real estate that's usually covered at G2E with the major manufacturers. And we help all those suppliers bring their content online so gamers can play social games under the casino brand or real money gaming where that's legal. So Innovation Group and AGA, thank you so much for having Corey and I on today.
Great. Thanks a lot, Dana. And we just want to mention, unfortunately, our third panelist, which you may have seen in some of the marketing materials we put out, Peter, our CEO, had an unexpected commitment come up and is unable to attend the webinar. That said, we're thrilled to have Corey and Dana with us as our panelists and are excited to learn from their experiences at G2E. Before we dive into the questions for the panelists, we have a short video featuring Geoff Freeman, the President and CEO of the AGA. In the video, Geoff previews what this year's G2E attendees can look forward to. With that, let's start the video.
Hi, I'm Geoff Freeman, President and CEO of the American Gaming Association. Every year, we seek to make G2E better than the year before, and I could not be more excited about G2E 2016. From discussions around this year's elections and their impact on the gaming industry, to esports and other things of interest to our next generation of customers, G2E 2016 promises robust conversation on the industry's hottest topics. As the gaming industry evolves, so too does G2E. Attendees to this year's show will see for the first time leaders of tribal and commercial gaming coming together to talk about how we work together in a closer fashion. I'm excited to join my good friend, NYGA Chairman Ernie Stevens, on stage to talk about the relationship between NYGA and AGA and the collaboration between the commercial and tribal industries. For the first time in G2E's 16-year history, prominent speakers will take the stage on all 4 days of the show. In addition to former NBA Commissioner David Stern's presentation on day 3, we'll be joined by leaders in technology, security, and gaming on each day of G2E 2016. After a strong debut last year, the Integrated Resort Experience is back on the main trade show floor and will feature hospitality concepts, technology solutions, food and beverage, and entertainment. We're very excited about the growth of the Integrated Resort Experience. It's a miniature version of what our industry has become. Any casino you walk into today is providing a multitude of entertainment options to their customers, and it's important that G2E does the same. The Integrated Resort Experience will provide one-stop shopping for buyers looking at the latest developments in food, lodging, and clubs. The Integrated Resort Experience is becoming a central focus of G2E. G2E 2016 promises to be a great show, and I can't wait to see you in Las Vegas.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with the Q&A. And attendees, please remember to submit your questions using the Q&A icon. Please feel free to follow along with the slide deck that you see in the middle of your WebEx screen. So our first question is, what are you guys most excited to see on this show floor, and what are you most interested in learning about during the conference? Dana, we'll start with you.
Great, thank you. I am particularly excited about anything that helps engage players in new and exciting ways. So one of the products that I've been tracking, being in the iGaming space, the product from Gambit, where you're engaging in fun types of games where you're pulling back boulders that sit in little baskets for catapults and knocking down buildings, but you're actually able to bet against that. That's an interesting product to me. It's new, it's different, and if you've not caught them in the news, they just did a deal with Caesar. Another interesting, exciting product is mobile betting on property. MGM just launched that product on the Strip recently with a company called OneLive. So what I get excited about for the industry is the products that sit outside the traditional core of being able to go on a slot machine game, play that game, and rinse and repeat that process. Certainly that's the bread and butter of the industry. I have a lot of respect for that business line, but I'd love to see what the manufacturers are doing and looking ahead to support new and future state gaming ideas.
Great. Corey, what are you most excited to see and learn about?
Great. Well, thank you, Dana. I'm glad you covered the technology side and some of the true gaming. I'm really excited to take it all in, as well as participate in just the sheer size of the show. Being that I'm a food and beverage guy, it's really great to see what's going to be going on with the Integrated Resort Experience, the idea of some of the different vendors, and really see all that Las Vegas has to offer with all the world that's coming. That being said, one of the great things of G2E being in Las Vegas is that you've really got this great laboratory at your disposal that you can go, obviously, Sands Convention Center and the interaction of the Venetian, the Palazzo, as well as all the other resorts and gaming operations, restaurants, that really take in all these levels of experience that you can take back to your home city, home state, home country, and really seeing, hey, does that integrate with what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish and moving it forward?
Great. Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting. One thing I'll just add is I understand the AGA is launching a new program on the show floor called the Innovation Labs. It sounds like there'll be some unique programming with presenting groups ranging from UNLV to the Innovation Group as well as the Emerging Leaders of Gaming. So I think that's something to be on the lookout for when you're walking the show floor. And Dana, I see we got you on video now, so welcome.
Sure. I made it. I did that Bad Hair Day challenge, and you guys let me in, so thanks for that.
All right, moving on to the next question. What sessions or speakers are you most excited to see this year? Corey, we'll start with you this time.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. I really am very curious to hear and see David Stern speak. Knowing that the NBA was really a national brand, became a little more of an international brand, and keeps developing their integration of live sports with in-game action, with what they've done with some of the fantasy sports, as well as their integration with brands, and really what he's done, being that he was a lawyer by trade, and his background, and obviously that he's no longer involved with day-to-day. Really curious to see on their impact and what his true take is on the impact of gaming on live action sports, as well as the human aspect. I know there are only, unfortunately this year, 2 panels focusing on food and beverage that are being chaired by a member of the Culinary Institute of America. That's something that we've always done in the past. We really enjoyed some of the other aspects of different perspectives, but it's all about the amenities. It's all about what really adds to the gaming experience of that gamer, that player, that customer, being where the casino is really located. So it's all about trying to find out how else can we really maximize our guests' experience. I know there are a few other shows, but really then taking those seminars and taking it to the floor of the casinos that are in operation right now.
Great. Dana, what are you excited to see in terms of sessions or speakers?
Big change of late in the industry is the coming together of tribal and commercial gaming. So Jeff Freeman's panel with Ernie Stevens, moderated by Victor Roca, is something that's really exciting for me. I've known Victor well for several years in the space. He's a huge advocate of collaboration, and to see him putting together that panel and moderating that session, I think it's going to be really interesting for both worlds to collide, and I don't think the industry's really done that until the last year. This is a really new engagement between NIGA and AGA together, and I think it's good for the industry. I think the industry needs it. Both parties represent revenues equally across the country. As an organization, particularly, we support tribal gaming as much as we do commercial gaming. So that's a hot list panel for me, and one that I'll certainly be front row center supporting Victor and the team on.
Great. And so obviously there's a ton of stuff going on during G2E. A lot of events, sessions, you have time to walk the show floor. How do you guys balance all of this simultaneous events, panels, and meetings going on during the conference?
Picking and choosing is very difficult. I feel like this is an industry that particularly has a lot of love. I was in advertising for 6 years before getting into gaming, and I was relatively overwhelmed in a good way by how familial this culture is. People treat each other like a family. So if you get invited to your great aunt's brunch and your great uncle's brunch on 2 different sides of the family, you're going to offend somebody by skipping some events. So I think being willing to jump in and out of events and move in a really fluid manner and make sure that you're giving respect to your professional colleagues, to your vendors and suppliers who spend tens of millions of dollars attending this event. It just takes an art and science to do, but I think making sure that you hit everything and take every minute of that show in will be worth your while by Friday. You don't know what you don't know at an event like G2E. You don't know what interesting conversation you're going to have by sticking your head in that extra dinner, by making that party that you were invited to, last minute, and what connections you'll make there. So my suggestion for everybody attending this year is maximize that time. It's once a year, and you've quite literally have, I put a LinkedIn post up about this, about 1,100 minutes of live time on the floor. Not a lot of time. So most of your time networking, connecting, talking about understanding the space is actually done outside of show floor hours, and that's something that only you can maximize, right? The show doesn't happen outside of the event without you leaning in and engaging it to get what you want out of it.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tina. That's exactly it. It's really all about that balance. It's trying to pick and choose your moments when you can. It's really all about the networking, about the experience. You never know who's going to be down that next hallway. You never going to know who's going to be down that next turn or in that booth. It's being on the show floor. Making sure you start your day, with a plan and knowing that plan's probably going to change because someone's going to come in and you're going to have an impromptu meeting, which could result in a great opportunity for you or your clients. It's taking those dinners, taking those opportunities, really having the chance that, show up, make sure you're there, and who knows, and that'll lead to the future. That'll lead to these opportunities, whether it's, and oh, by the way, make sure you have a business card. Very important. You got to have your business cards ready. Make sure you have your phone fully charged, or either have a backup charger or your phone plug, because there's never enough juice, and it always happens that way, as we all know.
You're all invited to booth 1416. We have a charging couch, so you can come sit down and rest your feet and plug in your cell phone and watch a little VR right at the booth. So come get a charge if you need it at the show.
That's definitely great to keep in mind. And you guys both touched on networking in your answers to that question. So in your opinions, what are the best networking events at G2E? Corey, we'll start with you this time.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. One of the big things when the Emerging Leaders program really started out a couple years ago to look to honor those members, those people who are a part of G2E and AGA who are under the age of 40, it really was that chance to be that next generation. And having a chance to really go to that, what the Innovation Group is doing every year, and find who my peers are, really also find who that next generation is going to be, is a really exciting one. I know this year it's going to be held at Tau. I believe it's in the Opium Room on Wednesday the 28th at about 5:30. It should be a really great event. I know when we started that out, it was a great opportunity just to meet new people. And the great thing about that is when we did it a couple years ago, there was a gentleman who's one of the fathers of the modern slot machine, and he was just talking about innovation. And it's really saying, hey, this is a member of a different generation, and this is what you need to be a part of moving forward. And that you never know who you're going to run into there. Obviously, the initial, the evening kickoff, be a part of that. Make sure you're there. You never know who you're going to bump into as we talk about all the network opportunities. And just take the invitations, whether it's from the game company, whether it's from a product supplier. You never know. Go and make friends, show face, say hello, and give a business card out and make a new connection.
Adding on to that, Corey, I would say that when you get invited to the event, if there's anything else that's on your radar, you're interested in, but you don't know how to get to, ask. So again, fortunes are spent by the manufacturers on the parties, the dinners, the networking events like the Emerging Leaders Series, which I was also a part of in year one. Very excited to come back and work with Innovation Group again here for this format. But if you're interested in Global Gaming Women, that event is also on Wednesday night. If that's a passion for you, if you're interested in networking in that circle and you don't know about it, ask colleagues, ask compatriots, do some work around the web before going to G2E to see what's happening at the show. I want to say just in the last few days here, the G2E organizers have finally launched the app for the show itself. So you can do your My Show planning, earmark what you're interested in, and start in advance of hitting the ground in terms of networking. Other follow-up comment from what Kari said already here is, as you engage with people and have gentlemen like the father of the modern slot machine get up and speak, grab those people at the end of their speaking session and ask them a question. I think the people who really made it in this industry, again, with that very family-based nature and dynamic, they want to help people on the rise. They want to help you understand the business. People in gaming die in gaming. People in gaming stay in this industry because they love the business. So if you're leaning into the business and you have questions about the business, there are people who want to help you grow in the industry. Go up and ask them. Again, you can't sit still on those moments. It's about grabbing them as they pass.
That was a great answer to segue into our next question, Dana. So what is your guys' best advice for creating valuable connections with senior and executive level industry figures who are attending the event? And this is obviously geared towards more so some of the emerging younger attendees that we have for the webinar today.
I know it's a buzzword these days, but authenticity. So if you want to engage a C-suite leader as a younger person who's coming to G2E for maybe the first time, don't really have the ropes around you fully yet, I wouldn't recommend asking for business right away. This is an industry, again, by its nature, that likes relationships, that likes having people get to know and understand each other before really engaging deeply in business. And it likes the connections that exist. So if there's a senior C-suite person that you want to get to know for whatever reason, maybe it's for a mentorship, maybe it's for future business, one way to go about doing that would be to look at your network on LinkedIn and see how you're connected to that person. What connections do you have in common? If LinkedIn doesn't expose that for you, ask somebody who's a bit more tenured in the industry how to connect with them. Go up to them at the end of a panel or session and look for that at the right moment. So I'm sure many of us will see Gavin Isaacs floating around at the show. If he's sitting down having a one-on-one cup of coffee with an old industry associate, that's probably not the moment to lean in and grab that network. Look for the right moments, look for the right opportunities, structure and plan them, and around those conversations, be authentic. If you have a question and it's a real question, ask it. I wouldn't design a question just for the sake of trying to edge your way into a connection. Be you, be interested, and that's how you can really build rapport with senior executives.
Anything to add to that, Corey?
I couldn't agree more. You're spot on. It's all about using your existing connections. First of all, if you are still growing in the business, obviously it's about those opportunities. And I think to Dana's point is be visible. You know, be on the show floor. You know, be here areas when so you are people, so you are people who live there, those players, because you never know how it can impact you further in your future. And if you do want to meet someone, again, see if you do have a connection. Be courteous. Make sure they're in another meeting. But it's always about being on the show floor. Being, you know, if you're at a cocktail mixer and the same as you want to meet someone, you're there for a reason. You know, it is a very important show. Obviously, it's a very important experience. You know, take every opportunity. If you're going to have a cup of coffee before you start the show, do it at, you know, before you get to the floor right there so people see you walking by. Or if you're going to have a cocktail at one of these receptions, make sure you always have free hands to shake someone's hand or to have your business card out or, you know, have your cell phone out. One chance, you never know when the chance opportunity is really going to occur. And take every experience, and not only take every experience, follow up on every experience. That's the best part. We always talk about, you know, it's great to have that initial interaction, but once you have that interaction, what are you going to do after that? And make sure if you have that opportunity to sit down and talk to someone while you're still there in Las Vegas for the next couple of days, take it. We always know we're better in this business one-on-one, face-to-face than we are over the phone or, you know, abroad or an email. Make sure, take that one-on-one time and that face time and really try and maximize it as much as possible.
I want to add something before we go on to the next question here. I think for an event that's as exciting and big as G2E, and we've mentioned the parties, we've mentioned the cocktail hours, that's a huge part of this event, but for people on the line today who are a bit more introverted, I don't think that you have to come across as, how do I say, a party person or an extrovert or go up and really forcefully shake hands. I think you can come in, be you, and add value by being a professional in your field. Because I think C-suite executives particularly want to see the forest from the trees, to be able to understand the landscape that they're dealing with, which for all of us is changing pretty quickly. So if you're an expert in chair manufacturing, what are you doing with chairs to keep butts and seats, the tagline for casinos, right? Keep the butts and seats longer. What do you know about chairs that you could tell somebody? What do you know about your field that differentiates you from maybe everybody else in your field and adds value and information to the conversation? So again, You don't have to be an extrovert and talk about football or talk about socializing all the time to get a lot of value out of that networking. Be you, be professional, add the value that you bring to the industry right into those conversations, and that goes a long way as well.
The one thing I'll add is just when you're attending the session, sometimes it's a better approach to go up and talk to the moderators rather than the panelists during the session. Oftentimes they're not quite as swarmed as the panelists are after the sessions end, and they're usually just as senior as the panelists they're presenting with, and they may be connected to those panelists as well, and if you hit it off and keep the relationship strong, they may be able to introduce you to some of those panelists in the future.
That's absolutely true. That's a great add, Michael.
So the next question, how do you guys prepare for the conference in the days and weeks leading up to the event? Corey, we'll start with you this time.
Well, knowing that Las Vegas is my city and where my office is based and the show's in my backyard, it's the balance. It really is. It's knowing that you're going to be out of office, set up your meetings as appropriate. If you have deadlines, get them done. Or if you do have clients or do have things, you will be out of the office. And understanding that if you're going to be on the floor for X amount of hours, give yourself, that 10, 15, 20 minutes to check email to break away to make that phone call. Because, if you're in a meeting or an impromptu meeting is going to happen or a chance encounter, you probably shouldn't be on your cell phone when you're talking to one of those members of that C-suite or one of those executives, because they won't pay attention to you if you're not paying attention to them. And it's going to change. You just have to be flexible, but know that give yourself some basic parameters that, from this time in the morning this is going on, or if you're to say, hey, if I'm evening work, this is going on, or if I have to call international, that's just how it is. So it's really just try and plan out everything as best as possible, but be prepared that it'll probably all change based on any meetings that happen, any events, or just being on the show floor overall.
I'm going to give a very different answer to Corey's. I agree with everything you said, so I won't add any more layers to that same dialogue. But I approached the show in leading into it in a few different ways. One, I find G2E physically exhausting. So I've spent September trying to take the stairs versus the elevator, jog that extra mile, and literally, I know it sounds silly, but quite physically get ready to be standing up for a week straight. And on the whole time, you are shaking hands, you are kissing babies, you're saying hello, you can't make mistakes. So I think being as rested as possible, being as healthy as possible, eat clean, you're just going to feel better going into the show. Another part of preparation that I do is really start thinking about what are we wearing to G2E? This is the event where you are showing your most professional self. Are you fully packed? Do you have all your ties? Do you have matching socks? Did you put Band-Aids in your bag? I get asked every year by a gentleman at our booth, hey, by the way, did you pack some Band-Aids? I have a blister on my foot. Don't wear brand new shoes. You'll get a blister on your foot. That happens every year. Prep your bag. Prep like you're an athlete going to an event. You would check your gear. You check your equipment. You check for your cell phone charger. Again, I know it probably sounds a bit silly on the line here today, but when you are going into the biggest event of the year, you pack, you plan, you have a checklist, you have your gear, you have your equipment, and that's your business attire, your business cards, as Corey already mentioned, chargers, etc., to be fully ready for that event. And I'd also bring a little container of Advil I recommend as well.
No, that's definitely great advice. And comfortable shoes are key because you're going to be walking a lot during the show.
Comfortable shoes are key.
Yeah. Theme of the year.
So after G2E ends, what actions do you guys take to recover, reflect, and ensure that you get the most out of the information you learned and the connections you made? Dana, we'll start with you.
I sit down Friday morning after the show, and I look through the business cards and any notes that I took physically right on that piece of paper. I take a picture of the cards and scan them into my phone right away, and I do a post-mortem for our leadership team. You might be on a delegation that has been put together by senior management of your organization to go out to the show. You come back a week later, they haven't heard anything from you. You want to lean into the business and show what you got out of the event, show the value of G2E for the rest of your operation. Putting together a really good post-mortem show summary is a great exercise because not only does it help the people who weren't able to attend the show for your operation, it also helps you break down and digest what was really valuable that you took out of the event itself when you're forcing yourself to go through that exercise as a mental filter. Corey mentioned earlier following up on every connection. That's what tools like, I know I've mentioned them several times already today, but like LinkedIn are for. If you don't use LinkedIn and you have a CRM tool that's more valuable to you, those business cards can disappear fast. They're in a suit pocket that gets dry cleaned. They're in a purse that gets tucked away. So take the time to go through the exercise of organizing your contacts, thinking about the conversations you had with those contacts, and sending the follow-up. I can't tell you how valuable it's been to me over the years to have a note on Friday from either a vendor that came to the space, an industry associate, a potential partner of ours for the platform business. That's a simple thank you. Thank you. I had a great time connecting with you at the show. I really look forward to it. Can we connect next week on a quick 30-minute call to talk about how to move forward from here? Get that process in right away because calendars will fill up pretty quickly for post-show activity, especially if your role is engaging with C-suite.
They said it. Right in there. Phone, email. Having that recap is if you're not even doing a personal recap, points or dates, the notes on whether it's or regional or another opportunity, and really making sure that you not only follow up, with a reason. Follow up, say, hey, let's get on the phone, let's set a meeting time. The pleasantries are wonderful, and that's always great. But make sure that if you know that you're better, if you're a little more shy or you do a little bit better after the show, but at least you have the card or the phone number, make sure you have your reason to follow up. And really, folks, it never hurts to remind someone how you met them. Never hurts to say, hey, it was a pleasure. Being positive and really taking those opportunities and staying organized. That's what it is, because we're on the go for 3, 4, 5 days, and so is everyone else. And so everyone's got to get their comfortable shoes and lots of Advil. So make sure you have your business cards and then keep following up on those business cards and those connections.
Final note on the same topic here. I think Corey and I have both been talking from a really commercial lens. We both go out and get contacts to develop business and bring that business into our organization. I would assume that there's a good number of you on the line today who maybe are not in those same types of roles, and your job at G2E is to ferret out information, ask questions. The best question you could probably ask at the show is, dear vendor, dear subject matter expert in front of me, what didn't I ask you about your business that I should have? What didn't I ask you about your product that you're showing that I should have? Do you have an extra 15 minutes tomorrow? I still have some more questions for you that I'd like to go through at your booth. Can I come back? I cannot iterate enough the amount of capital that goes into building those booths. There are hundreds, if not thousands of slot machines in that venue. I would assume close to thousands, hundreds alone for the length of the siding from IGT. So when you're putting that type of investment into a show as a supplier of whatever nature you are, you love to help inform and educate the guests that are in front of you. Whether there's somebody who is going to be a potential buyer or not, I feel like on the vendor side, when I'm standing in my booth and I have a guest in front of me, if they are asking for information about what I do in my industry, even if they're not going to buy from me directly, I can't assume that that person isn't going to go tell another connection that they have in this very, very small ecosystem of gaming about what we do, and that person may be interested in that. So feel welcome to ask, engage, talk, and get what you want to know out of the show from any of the vendors and participants that are there.
No, those are all great things to keep in mind as as you guys prepare and go through G2E, and then when the event's over and how to follow up. That ends our prepared questions. We have a few minutes for audience Q&A, so I'll just pull some now. So our first question from James, he asks, this is my first year at G2E. Any tips that you wish you could have received for your first experience?
I think the feedback that I shared about being healthy and engaged and mentally ready is what I would have liked to know in advance. I try and generally take care of health, but I don't think you can describe until you get to the Friday at the end of the show how exhausting that event is. You're going to be tired. Your feet will hurt. Your body's going to hurt. So I think just making sure that you're prepped to fully clear your personal calendar. You're not going back to your room and watching television for 2 hours to rest at the end of the day before going to your dinner. You're minute to minute for several days straight through the course of show week. For us, it's typically Sunday all the way to Friday. For you who are walking the floor, that's probably going to be Monday night through late Thursday afternoon and evening. Be willing and able to fully clear your calendar, clear your mindset, to just be present. Again, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what connections you're going to come across by chance and circumstance and how they might be important to you now or might be important to you in the future. Potential mentor, potential future job, potential future business partner. So have that open mindset to just be present while you are at the show
And James, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot going on in Las Vegas. There's a lot going on in the show. Also, if you are not staying at the Venetian Palazzo or the Wynn or TI, or give yourself double the amount of time just in case to get there, either through cab or electricity. Take some time. And also, I would say, because it can be a little bit overwhelming, take a deep breath. Really take some great points about physical, and knowing that there are a lot of people who are there to network, to talk. To meet, to greet, to do everything. Have that cup of coffee there on site. Make sure be present. Make sure you're available and be ready.
Okay, our next question is from Aaron, and this, we may not be the best at answering, Aaron, but any tips for first-time media covering the event?
Schedule in advance. So I handle our media inquiries for the show. Show calendars do fill up pretty quickly, and we, of course, try and make sure that customers, prospective customers are cared for. We love the media. We're very grateful for any coverage we get. So we'll absolutely always try to get great scheduling for your calendar as well as ours. But if you're interested in connecting and either doing video footage or an interview, it's well in advance as you can schedule that, as well as in advance as you can prep the entity that you want to connect with. That's appreciated. It's difficult for the supply side to be on camera, have a question come at you that you're not really prepared for, and respond like a deer in headlights. That's a lose-lose for both parties. So depending on what type of meeting you're in and what you want to get out of engagement, I would make sure to do reach out in advance, use LinkedIn, use emails, use corporate websites. And I know that everybody who's at that show on the supply side in any category would love to help you and support you. So if there's any additional questions you want to ask offline, I'd be happy to connect with you there as well.
And also, I would say, just like any other event or any other opportunity on any media, make sure you identify yourself as being a member of the media in the initial. People are always meeting, greeting, talking, but if you discuss, I'm with this publication, I'm with this online, this is who we are, this is where we're based, this is what we do. I think that's very, very important. And it's really about, again, scheduling those appointments, getting things, organized, getting things ready, and taking your notes, be prepared, knowing that if you're going to, if you want to do an impromptu interview, make sure you have your, your recorder there and find a quiet place. And if you're going to do that, make sure, is it a restaurant, is it a coffee shop, or do you have to pull to the side? And really pick and choose those moments, whether it's an in-person, interview, whether it's setting something up for the future, using those connections and really make sure that you maximize that opportunity, and really taking it for what it is during those 3-4 days on site.
Yeah, yep, that's great advice. So unfortunately, that's the last question we're going to have time for today. We have a few requests for our attendees before we sign off. The first, we want to thank both Dana and Corey again for taking the time to impart some of their knowledge and advice with us. We really appreciate it. And attendees, for all of you that are under 40, we want to encourage everyone that is going to G2E to attend the Emerging Leaders Networking event. Corey talked about some of the events in the past. As he said, it's happening on Wednesday evening at the Opium Room in Tao. The 2016 class of award winners will be announced there, and it's a great place to network and meet other young people in the industry. And finally, attendees, you should all be directed to a survey on the webinar after exiting. Completing this survey will allow us to continue to improve the webinar experience for you all moving forward. And that's it. Thanks to everyone for joining today. We hope it was an informative and insightful webinar for all of you. Thanks again.
Guests that are on the line, please connect with us on LinkedIn. If you have good questions and you didn't get the opportunity to ask them to the floor today, reach out to Corey and I, reach out to the innovation team on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with you, and we'd love to help you out even further pre-show. So thanks again to all the participants from our end. Greatly appreciate it.
Great. And thank you all very much. We really appreciate the time and you taking the time to listen to us. We are available. We'll be watching the show. Dana and I have never met ourselves in person, so I'm sure we'll have, what was the booth number again, Dana?
1416. Come on over, everybody.
Perfect. We'll all be there.
Yep, we'll be there. Great. Thanks, everyone.